In this video we are going to learn about fundamental of a computer system. Now this is the computer system, consists of CPU and the display unit. So here we are calling this as CPU because entire processing is actually done inside this black box. So we need to clearly understand, once you remove this black box, there will be a main circuit board like this. This is known as main board. This is the main computer system, right? This is the main computer system. We call it as motherboard or system board. Now once you take this motherboard, there is a place to fix the processor, CPU, central processing unit. This is considered to be the brain of the computer system. Entire process take place here, therefore we are calling this as CPU as well. So in fourth generation we are calling it as main processor, microprocessor, right? As you switch on the computer, now first of all we need to understand the switch on process, then we can easily understand everything. As you switch on the computer, this CPU will instruct this ROM chip. This is a kind of memory, we are calling read only memory. So we can't write anything to this. There are certain ROM chips we can write few, we can provide few updates, but general can't write. Now here normally two type of main programs will be stored here. Very tiny small program stored by manufacturer, we can't do anything. One is post, power on, self test. As you switch on the computer, CPU will instruct this ROM chip to please start post program, power on, self test. That is actually this does the self test, check each and every component, right? Finally, to start up a computer system, there are minimum requirement. If any of this component not functioning properly, this provide a display message, can't start up the computer system. According to the error, there will be a error message. Once everything working fine, then it goes to the next step. So next program stored in the ROM chip is bootstrap loader. Bootstrap loader. Now normally our operating system, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, whatever, it is stored in the hard disk drive. It is stored in the hard disk drive, permanent storage. So first CPU instructs ROM run post, power on self test. If everything is working fine without any error, now as you switch on the computer, you see a black color screen with few text, that is actually coming from this ROM, indicate the manufacturer, version and everything. Once post is completed, to last next program, bootstrap loader. So this will find the master boot record. Any disk drive when loading the operating system can't just load it, need to locate the master boot record, from there only can load the operating system. So the next program inside the ROM chip, bootstrap loader will locate the master boot record, then operating system will be loaded to main memory RAM. This is the working area of the computer system. Whatever the program you run, here only open. So this is the working area. Now it's very clear. CPU instructs this memory unit, ROM. First one is post, power on self test. If everything goes fine, then bootstrap loader will activated. That will pass the message to the hard disk drive. Everything is fine. Now you can load your operating system to RAM. This is the basic procedure. right? Now here CPU and there are three kinds of memory. So later I'll be explaining separately. This is read-only memory, very tiny capacity. Firmware is stored by the manufacturer. Then this is the hard disk drive. It's a permanent storage. We'll be storing our operating system here. Then whatever the application software, your documents, everything will be saved here. Next time we can load from hard disk to memory. Now this is the working area of computer system, but here this is temporary. We are not storing any permanent data here, right? Because this is volatile. As you switch off the computer, everything get erased. But working time, we need this memory. We can't go inside the hard disk drive, right? Very slow. You won't be able to use the computer. So therefore all necessary block, as you click, right, let's say the word file, certain instructions, certain information, you go and click, actually you are clicking the address of this. So then this will pass the message to hard disk drive and load all necessary software application, right? CPU will check, not available, send the hard disk drive and load it here. So therefore this memory is very important, because these are fixed. Once program activated, smoothly work. But this is not fixed. Anytime you can increase the memory capacity according to your computer system. There is a limit. Up to that limit you can increase. Higher the number of RAM, performance also will be very high. Otherwise RAM need to swap, right, data block between hard disk drive and RAM. Because not enough capacity, no, whatever it is available here, it will send here, and from hard disk drive take it to the RAM. Next time when this area is needed, this need to be sent to the hard disk drive, right? Therefore we need higher capacity of RAM. Then there won't be an issue. We can open few programs here and work. Right, now it is very clear. There is a CPU unit, under memory unit, ROM, RAM, and the external storage. We are calling this as internal, and RAM is used because randomly can access, no need to follow any sequential order, here and there can access. We can write anything to the RAM, we can read from RAM, but it is volatile. Finally need to send to the hard disk drive for the permanent storage. Then as external disk drive we can name SSD, solid state disk. Then hard disk drive, our usual hard disk with the read write head and everything, with the mechanical part. So therefore those hard disk drive are not suitable to use with mobile devices, right? So moving mean most of the time due to the vibration the read write head might damage. But solid state disk, this use actually electrical chargers to store data. There are no read write head, so therefore it is used for mobile devices. Not only not only because of the movement part, but the size compared to hard disk drive very tiny, small, compact. Therefore we can easily integrate it with mobile devices as well. Right, now it is very clear: CPU, ROM, RAM, hard disk drive. Then here you get few ports like this. You can fix these cards. Now this motherboard, already there is a port to connect the monitor. You can use the monitor without any issue. For example, if you want to run very high-end game, then you need good quality display unit. This is actually the basic inbuilt one. Still you can use it, no issue at all. Right? If you want much more quality videos, then what we can do is we can buy a separate VGA card, video graphic adapter and fix this card here. There is a specific slot to fix. Then you can connect from there to monitor. Now no issue, you can have very high quality videos. Similarly, most of the latest motherboard support inbuilt sound. Without the fixing anything, you can use sound. But if you are expecting very high quality sound system, then you can buy a sound card and fix it here. Then you can connect the speaker to this sound card. Right? Now these are the basic component of the computer system. First we learn internal parts. Externally you can see there you get input devices and output devices. Whatever we feed to the computer is known as input devices. Whatever we are taking out from the computer is known as output devices. So here the basically mouse, keyboard, mic, all will be input devices. Then the monitor, display unit and the speakers become output devices. Now it is very clear what is inside the computer system, mainly how this startup process occur. Very important. CPU will send a message to ROM, then it will follow the procedure. We should be able to tell these things, right? What CPU will do first, and then what will happen inside the ROM chip, how message is passed to the hard disk drive, and how operating system is loaded to RAM. Very simple. So next video I will be explaining little more about the CPU and the memory unit. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.